"What are you doing here, old man?" Officer Jake Morrison's words cut sharply through Harper's Corner Diner. Every head turned. Daniel Cross, 62, froze with his coffee cup halfway to his lips. Morrison stepped closer, his shadow falling across Daniel's plate. "I asked you a question." "Officer, I'm just having lunch." "Please, don't give me trouble." Morrison's hand slammed against the counter. Daniel's coffee jumped, spilling across his open Bible. Elena Reyes gasped behind the register. Sarah Lane's fingers twitched toward her phone. The construction worker in the corner stood halfway up from his booth. Morrison leaned down, his face inches from Daniel's. "Let me see some ID, and don't think about showing me a church card." Daniel's hands trembled as he reached for his wallet. Not from fear, but from decades of swallowing pride. "Daniel Cross," Morrison read with a mocking lilt. "What kind of work do you do, Daniel? Street preaching? Passing out flyers? Begging for donations?" The accusations landed like punches. Elena stepped forward. "Stop this! He hasn't done anything wrong." Morrison whirled on her. "Ma'am, interfere again and you'll be cuffed. You want to be arrested for obstructing an officer? Have you ever watched dignity stripped away piece by piece? This was only the beginning. Daniel Cross had built his life on service and faith. For 30 years, he organized charity drives for his church, food baskets, coat donations, youth mentorship programs. He believed in compassion, not division. After retirement, he delivered mail in the same neighborhoods, known for his steady kindness and quiet prayers. His wife, Ruth, had been his anchor. 3 years had passed since cancer took her, leaving him with memories and a son whose government job was too dangerous to discuss. Every Tuesday since her passing, Daniel ate lunch at Harper's Corner Diner. Same time, same order. Turkey sandwich, black coffee, and scripture beside his plate. Elena Reyes had bought the place from the original owner, keeping its working-class warmth while welcoming new faces. She cared about her regulars. "How are you doing today, Mr. Cross?" she always asked. "Blessed day, Elena," he'd reply, tapping the small silver cross that hung around his neck. Today had begun no differently. He finished his morning Bible study group at the community center, then walked to Harper's. Elena waved as he came through the door, already preparing his usual order. But Officer Morrison told a different story. 8 years on the force, 17 official complaints, 2 internal affairs investigations, both quietly dismissed. His pattern was clear: aggressive stops, excessive force, and a simmering hostility toward Christians who carried their faith openly. His rookie partner, Danny Pierce, 6 months out of the academy, followed Morrison's lead despite the unease knotting his stomach. Earlier that day, Morrison's radio had crackled. All units. Bolo for elderly male carrying religious pamphlets. Suspected harassment outside King's Market on 5th Street. Morrison glanced at Pierce. Perfect match. Pierce hesitated. He looked settled in. Reading. Praying. That's their trick, Morrison muttered. Act harmless. Blend in. Trust me. Sarah Lane, a freelance journalist 3 stools down, was researching faith-based discrimination for her next expose. Her phone lay within easy reach. Something about today felt heavier than her usual encounters. The diner hummed with quiet tension. A mother spoon-fed her toddler. 2 construction workers argued about their foreman. An elderly couple shared pie. Ordinary people about to witness something extraordinary. Daniel's phone sat face down on the counter. He hadn't yet read his son's newest message. Dad, something big is happening today at work. Can't explain, but stay safe. Thinking of you. Marcus, Daniel didn't know that his son's work meant protecting the President of the United States. The diner air shifted as Morrison bore down on his target. Conversations quieted without anyone realizing why. Elena's hand drifted toward the phone beneath the register. Sarah's fingers hovered over her camera app. Outside, city life pulsed on, office workers with takeout bags, traffic rolling steady. No one could imagine that the scene unfolding in a modest diner would soon echo all the way to the White House. Morrison shoved open the glass door, scanning. The radio call had been clear: elderly man spreading Christian propaganda. In Morrison's mind, that was all he needed. What he didn't know was that this particular suspect had raised the very man entrusted with guarding the president. Daniel politely handed over his license. His fingers steady, though humiliation burned in his chest. Daniel Cross, age 62, Morrison read aloud. His voice dripped contempt. Church volunteer, eh? How noble. He lifted the ID toward the light with exaggerated suspicion. The diner held its breath. This address current, Daniel? Yes, officer. Morrison's laugh was harsh and ugly. Officer so respectful. They always get real polite when they're hiding something. Pierce shifted uncomfortably, shame prickling his neck. Something about this was wrong, but his fear of Morrison's reputation kept him silent. Elena stepped forward again. Officer, Mr. Cross has been coming here every Tuesday for years. He prays, eats, and leaves. That's all, Morrison spun, his face flushed. Step back, ma'am. Official business. Last warning. Daniel's heart sank. He had seen this pattern before. Authority used as a weapon against faith. His life of community service had taught him patience, but this felt more dangerous than usual. Morrison pocketed Daniel's license. Stand up. Turn around. Officer, I haven't done anything wrong. Turn around. The command cracked through the diner like a whip. Daniel rose, maintaining what dignity he could. He turned toward the wall. Morrison's hands descended rough and invasive. Checking for hidden tracks, Morrison sneered loudly enough for everyone to hear. Can't be too careful with these zealots. Sarah Lane's thumb hovered above her phone's record button. Her instinct screamed to hit it, but she waited watching. Morrison yanked Daniel's wallet from his pocket, holding it aloft like evidence. Look at this. A lot of cash for a man just praying over his lunch. $127. His carefully budgeted veteran's benefit. Enough for groceries and his small ritual of Tuesday lunches. Where did you get this money, Daniel? Veterans Administration. I receive my check the first Tuesday of every month. How convenient. Morrison counted the bills slowly, each slap of currency deliberate, cruel. King's Market reported someone matching your exact description, and a man with a Bible in his hand stole $120 from their register. Elena gasped. That's impossible. He's been sitting here reading scripture for over an hour. You sure about that timing, ma'am? Or are you just protecting your church friend? During the humiliating pat-down, Daniel's phone buzzed insistently. The caller ID glowed. Marcus, work line. Neither officer noticed, but Sarah Lane caught a quick glimpse. Government insignia? Was that a federal contact photo? The call went unanswered, rolling to voicemail. Marcus's voice, unheard by the diner, carried urgency. Dad, sorry to call during lunch. There's a security situation developing. I need to tell you. The message cut off. Battery dead. The phone screen faded black just as Morrison yanked it from Daniel's pocket. What's this? He held it up like contraband. My phone, officer. We'll see about that. The construction worker in the corner booth had seen enough. His work boots thudded on the tile as he stood. Hey, that's not right. That man hasn't left this diner. Morrison's hand twitched toward his taser. Sit down. Nobody asked for your sermon. The worker sat back reluctantly but pulled out his phone. Sarah Lane finally found her courage. She hit record. Elena moved toward the landline behind the register. I'm calling the police supervisor. No! Morrison shouted, his control fraying. Nobody calls anyone. Daniel remained calm despite his pounding heart. His faith had taught him that dignity wasn't granted by men in uniform. It was a gift from God, one no one could strip away. Officer, he said gently, I understand you're doing your duty, but I promise you, you're making a serious mistake. The only mistake, Morrison spat, was thinking you could hide behind Bible verses while stealing from honest people. He grabbed Daniel's arm roughly, jerking him toward the door. The older man stumbled, his bad knee, weakened in a long-ago workplace accident, buckling beneath the sudden force. He's hurt. Elena cried out, He's resisting! Morrison barked, already reaching for his handcuffs. Sarah Lane's recording captured everything. Morrison's aggression, Daniel's steady compliance, the witnesses' protests, Elena's desperate attempts to intervene. None of them knew that within hours, the footage would be watched inside the West Wing. As Morrison snapped the first cuff onto Daniel's wrist, the older man turned to Sarah's camera with quiet dignity. "Please, make sure my son knows what happened here today." Morrison forced Daniel's arms back, but his old postal injury left one shoulder rigid and immovable. "I can't bend my arm like that," Daniel gasped, his face ashen with pain. "Stop resisting!" Morrison roared, applying brutal pressure. The construction worker bolted upright again, red with anger. "That man is not resisting," other customers echoed in protest. Elena, trembling, dialed 911 anyway. Morrison spun on her, wild-eyed. "Everyone shut up or you'll all be arrested for interfering with police business." The room hushed, but phones rose like a forest of witnesses. Screens glowing, cameras capturing, Sarah's live stream went live. "This is happening right now at Harper's Corner Diner. An elderly Christian man is being arrested for allegedly stealing, but witnesses say he hasn't moved from his seat in over an hour." Viewers climbed, 20, 50, 100. Morrison twisted Daniel's injured shoulder. A sharp pop cracked through the diner. Daniel cried out, his first sound of pain. "Oh, God!" Elena screamed.
"You're hurting him."
Pierce finally stepped forward, nerves on fire. "Jake, ease up." "Back off, Pierce." Daniel's face went gray, but he didn't fight back. Patience, faith, endurance, even as his shoulder slipped grotesquely from its joint. A mother near the window shielded her child's eyes. An elderly couple sat frozen, horror in their faces. Sarah's viewer count leapt 200. 500. "This is wrong," the construction worker muttered to his partner. "What can we do?" "He's got a badge. And a gun." Elena rushed forward with a towel for Daniel's shoulder. Morrison blocked her path with an elbow. "Stay back. What's your badge number?" Elena demanded. The construction worker zoomed in with his phone. 4472. Badge number 4472. Morrison stiffened as he realized he was surrounded by cameras. Rage surged, cornering him like an animal. "All of you, delete those videos. Now!" Nobody moved. The elderly man with pie whispered to his wife, "In 50 years, I've never seen anything like this." Sarah's live stream spiked 1,000 viewers. Comments flooded the screen. "Call Internal Affairs. This is insane. Help that man. Badge 4472 needs to be fired." Morrison's radio sputtered. "Unit 23, what's your status on the 5th Street theft?" Morrison froze, sweat trickling despite the diner's cool air. "Unit 23, respond. King's Market just called in. They found their missing money in the back storage room. Repeat, the cash was found. False alarm on the theft report." The diner went dead silent. Only the hum of the coffee machine and the whir of recording phones filled the air. Daniel looked up at Morrison. Quiet dignity intact, despite the obvious pain etched on his face. Officer Morrison's cheeks flushed crimson. He'd been caught. In front of witnesses, cameras, and now his own dispatch confirming he had brutalized an innocent man based on a false report. Pierce realized the truth with horror. His partner had just destroyed a man's body and dignity for nothing more than carrying a Bible at lunch. "Jake, let him go. Right now." "No," Morrison snapped. "He's still suspicious. Could be up to other crimes. Preaching without permits, soliciting, who knows? Based on what evidence?" The construction worker shouted. "Based on I'm the cop here," Morrison snarled. Sarah's live stream surged past 2,500 viewers. Comments flew faster than she could follow. Screenshots spread across Twitter and Facebook. Daniel's breathing grew shallow. The pain of his dislocated shoulder, combined with stress, triggered something darker. Panic rising from years of facing ridicule and harassment for his faith. Every insult, every side-eye at his cross necklace, every time he was called a Bible thumper, it all returned, suffocating. I need to sit down," he whispered. "You'll sit when I say you can sit," Morrison barked. Elena shoved past him, catching Daniel before he collapsed. "He's having a panic attack. This man needs medical help now." The construction worker dialed emergency services. "We need an ambulance at Harper's Corner Diner. Police officer using excessive force on an elderly Christian man. He's badly hurt." Morrison lunged for the phone. "Hang up right now. You can't stop me from calling for help." The worker roared, voice echoing across the diner. Pierce finally found his courage. Jake, enough! We need paramedics. Look at him, he can barely breathe. Daniel's memories blurred. Street harassment outside churches, snide remarks in shops, co-workers mocking his prayers before meals. Now it was all happening again, magnified under Morrison's fury. Sarah Lane made her move. She cross-posted her live stream, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. Caption happening now. Police brutality at Harper's Corner Diner. Elderly Christian man assaulted for a crime that never happened. Badge, NMAR4472. Share this. Within minutes, the video exploded across platforms. Influencers amplified it. Faith-based groups reposted. A prominent attorney began making calls. A congressman retweeted with outrage about religious discrimination. And in Washington, D.C., someone with very high clearance felt their phone buzz. Daniel's phone, cracked screen, nearly dead battery, flickered back to life on emergency reserve power. Caller ID, Marcus, urgent White House, Elena noticed. Mr. Cross, someone's trying to reach you. Looks important, Morrison snatched it up. Nobody touches anything. That's evidence. Evidence of what exactly? Elena shot back, voice trembling with fury. Sarah's live stream camera captured the glowing screen. Thousands of viewers saw it. Screenshots spread. Comments erupted. Who's Marcus? Did that say White House? Is this man connected to the government? Outside, red and white strobes splashed across the diner's windows. Paramedics jogged in, equipment bags at their sides. Morrison planted himself between them and Daniel like a wall. He's under arrest. Treatment comes later. The lead medic, Angela, a seasoned responder with 20 years' experience, stepped forward, voice firm. Sir, this man requires immediate medical attention. His shoulder's dislocated and he's showing cardiac distress. You can cuff him at the hospital if you must, but treatment is non-negotiable. Nobody tells me how to do my job. I've been a cop for 8 years. Angela didn't flinch. And I've been saving lives for 20. If this man dies because you denied care, the liability falls squarely on you. And I'm documenting everything. Sarah's live stream counter spiked, 10,000 and climbing. Local news vans rolled up, satellite dishes rising into the sky. Pierce looked around. Witnesses, cameras, paramedics, phones all aimed at them. His voice cracked. Jake, this has gone too far. Finish what we started, Morrison snapped, but his confidence wavered. Meanwhile, inside the White House Situation Room, Marcus Cross sat mid-briefing when his phone buzzed violently with social alerts. His assistant leaned in, whispering, Sir, I think you need to see this. Sir, something's trending nationwide involving law enforcement. Shoe Harper Diner incident and badge 4472 are going viral. Marcus Cross clicked Sarah's live stream with mild professional curiosity, expecting some minor issue that might overlap with White House security monitoring. Then his entire world stopped. On the small screen in his hand, clear as day, he saw his father, the man who raised him after his mother's death, who sacrificed sleep and savings to support every dream, who prayed over him at every turning point in life, being brutalized by a police officer. His colleagues saw it instantly, Marcus's calm professionalism curdling into shock, then into a fury so sharp it seemed dangerous. Sir, what is it? You look like you've seen a ghost. Marcus stood, his chair rolling backward. His jaw clenched, eyes dark with a wrath no one in the security division had ever seen. I need to make several calls right now. Cancel the rest of today's briefings. Marcus, what's happening? His supervisor asked, stepping forward cautiously. The chief of White House security fixed her with a steady, terrifying calm. That man being assaulted on live television is my father. Back in the diner, Morrison continued his abuse, ignoring paramedics, ignoring witnesses, ignoring the cameras. His radio crackled again, but this time the tone was different. Unit 23, you have an urgent priority call from federal authorities. Report to your supervisor immediately. This is not a drill, Morrison froze. In 8 years on the force, he had never once heard those words aimed at him. Pierce blinked. Federal authorities? Jake, what's happening? Neither officer knew that 240 miles away, the son of the man they were manhandling was already turning their lives upside down. The radio came alive again, firm and unyielding. "Officer Morrison, this is Deputy Chief Reynolds. You will immediately cease all activity and await federal authorities on scene. Step away from the suspect." "This is not a request." Morrison stared at the radio as if it had betrayed him. "Sir, I'm just processing a routine suspect, spreading religious propaganda, maybe." "Officer Morrison," the voice cut him off. "Step away from the suspect immediately. Any further action will have consequences at the federal level." Pierce's face drained of color. "Federal involvement? For a diner arrest?" Sarah's live stream spiked past 25,000. Comments blurred across the screen. "Holy feds are involved." "Who is this old man?" "Something big is about to happen." "Morrison is finished." Elena gently eased Daniel into a chair, his dislocated shoulder hanging grotesquely. He wheezed, chest tight, but managed to look around with faint hope. "Mr. Cross, what's happening? Why would federal authorities care about this?" Elena asked, her voice trembling. Daniel shook his head slowly. I don't know. Maybe someone saw the video." But in the quiet place of his heart, he dared to wonder. Could Marcus know? Inside the White House Security Command Center, Marcus Cross stood with his hands trembling, not from fear, but from rage. Multiple live-stream feeds glowed on his monitors, replaying his father's assault. Director Janet Coleman approached cautiously. "Marcus, you said there's a diner incident going viral." "I know," he interrupted, voice like ice. "That man being brutalized by Badge 4472 is my father." Coleman froze. "Your father?" "Yes, Daniel Cross." His eyes never left the screens. "And the whole country is watching." The room fell silent. Everyone there knew Marcus, a 15-year Secret Service veteran, 3 commendations for bravery, handpicked by the president himself to serve as chief of White House security. He was the one man whose authority was never questioned, and the last man you'd want your badge number in front of. Coleman grasped the implications instantly. "How do you want to handle this?" Marcus's voice became the cold, measured tone of a man coordinating a national crisis. "Get me the police commissioner on the line in 60 seconds. Then patch me through to the mayor. After that, the governor. In that order." Within minutes, the diner incident escalated from local misconduct to a national emergency. Commissioner Davis answered on the second ring. "Commissioner Davis speaking." "Commissioner," Marcus said, his voice razor-sharp. "This is Marcus Cross, Chief of White House Security. I'm currently watching your officer, Badge 4472, assault my father on a live stream being viewed by over 30,000 people. You have 3 minutes to handle this before it becomes a federal civil rights case, and a national scandal you will not contain." Commissioner Davis, who had worked side by side with Marcus during recent presidential visits, nearly dropped his phone. "Your father, dear God. I'll dispatch supervisors immediately. I'll respond myself." Mayor Patricia Williams took Marcus's call mid-budget meeting. "Marcus, this is unexpected." "Madam Mayor," Marcus said, voice measured but lethal, "your police department is brutalizing a 62-year-old Christian community volunteer on live television. That volunteer raised me. He taught me about service, dignity, and justice. How do you plan to address this situation?" The mayor, who owed her flawless campaign rally the year before to Marcus's security coordination, knew she faced a political earthquake. "Marcus, I'm horrified. I'll handle this personally and immediately." Governor Richardson answered his phone during a press conference on infrastructure funding. An aide whispered pale-faced before passing the line. "Governor, this is Marcus Cross, Chief of White House Security. Turn on social media. Your state police may need to intervene in a federal civil rights violation happening in real time. The victim being brutalized by local officers is my father." Governor Richardson, whose career had benefited from Marcus's presidential coordination, understood instantly. This would define his legacy. "I'll mobilize state resources immediately." Back at Harper's Corner Diner, 3 black SUVs with government plates screeched to a stop outside. Sarah's live stream caught it all. Federal agents in suits, earpieces glinting, moving with practiced precision. "Oh my God," Sarah whispered to her 40,000 viewers. "Federal agents just arrived. What is happening here?" Inside, Morrison's radio erupted with overlapping chatter. All units, federal authorities on scene at Harper's Corner Diner, Commissioner Davis responding personally. Mayor's office requesting immediate status. Internal affairs en route. Pierce looked like a ghost. Jake, what the hell did we walk into? This was supposed to be a simple call. Agent Sarah Mitchell from the FBI's Civil Rights Division strode in first, credentials raised. Behind her, Agent Carlos Mendez and a sharply dressed attorney, Marcus's personal legal counsel, entered with clear instructions: protect Daniel Cross's rights at all costs. Officer Morrison, Agent Mitchell announced, voice like steel. I'm Agent Mitchell, FBI Civil Rights Division. Step away from Mr. Cross immediately and surrender his identification. Morrison still clutched Daniel's license like a trophy. His mouth worked, desperate. This is just a routine arrest. Suspect was spreading religious propaganda. There is nothing routine about assaulting the father of the chief of White House security. The attorney cut in coldly, his words slicing through the diner. The diner gasped as one. Elena's hand flew to her mouth. Sarah's live stream chat exploded into chaos. White House security chief? That's his father? This cop is finished. National scandal incoming. Morrison's face drained of color. The ground under him had just fallen away. His son works for the president. Holy, this guy is connected to the White House. Morrison just messed with the wrong family. This is about to be legendary. Daniel looked up in genuine confusion. Pride mixing with pain. White House security? That's my son, Marcus. He works in Washington, but I never knew exactly what. Elena's jaw dropped. Your son works at the White House? For the president? Agent Mitchell approached Daniel with gentle professionalism. Mr. Cross, your son asked me to give you this message personally. Dad, I'm flying down right now on a government aircraft. Nobody will ever treat you like this again. I promise. Tears streamed down Daniel's weathered face. Not from the pain of his shoulder, but from pride and relief. His son had become everything he had prayed for, everything his late wife Ruth had dreamed. Commissioner Davis burst through the diner door, uniform disheveled, breathing hard from his sprint. His eyes swept the scene, Morrison clutching an ID, Daniel hunched and injured, agents surrounding. His voice dropped into deadly authority. Officer Morrison, you are suspended effective immediately. Badge, weapon, and radio. Now. Morrison's hands shook as he surrendered the tools of power he'd abused for 8 years. Sir, I was just following procedure. He was spreading Christian propaganda, maybe. You were just ending your career. Davis cut him off coldly. He turned to Daniel. Mr. Cross, on behalf of this department, I offer a full apology. This is unacceptable. Paramedics, treat him immediately. Pierce, pale and trembling, finally spoke. Commissioner, I want to file a formal complaint against my partner. What I witnessed was wrong. I should have stopped it. The media frenzy outside was deafening. News vans surrounded the diner. Sarah's live stream passed 60,000 viewers. The hashtag #HarperDinerJustice trended nationwide. Elena leaned close as paramedics examined Daniel's shoulder. Mr. Cross, why didn't you ever mention your son's job? Daniel managed a pained smile. Marcus and I agreed never to discuss it. Too dangerous, too sensitive. I just knew he did something important for the government. I never wanted special treatment. I just wanted to be Daniel from the neighborhood. Agent Mitchell addressed the room, her voice sharp for the cameras. This incident will be fully investigated as a federal civil rights violation. Mr. Cross's constitutional rights were trampled. Officer Morrison will face federal charges. Commissioner Davis nodded grimly. The department will implement immediate reforms, bias training, civilian oversight, zero tolerance for excessive force. This will not stand. Morrison, stripped of his badge and gun, realized his 17 ignored complaints and 2 buried investigations would all resurface under federal review. His career was finished. Pierce turned to Daniel, voice breaking. Sir, I'm so sorry I didn't act sooner. Daniel, gracious even now, answered softly. Son, courage isn't the absence of fear. Sometimes it just takes time to find your voice. You found it when it mattered. Applause broke out across the diner. Justice! The construction worker shouted. Elena hugged Daniel gently, careful of his shoulder. Sarah's live stream captured the moment, community triumphing over cruelty. Outside, the crowd swelled. Handmade signs appeared. "We stand with Daniel. Faith is not a crime." White House. Dad Daniel's phone buzzed again, struggling on its last ounce of power. A FaceTime call lit the cracked screen. Marcus's face appeared from inside a government jet. "Dad, are you okay?" "I'm 20 minutes out." Daniel's lips trembled into a smile. "I'm okay, son. Just a misunderstanding that got out of hand." "No, Dad, this wasn't a misunderstanding. This was wrong, and everyone involved will answer for it. I'm so proud of how you carried yourself." "Mom would be proud too." Elena wiped tears. Sarah's viewers, now over 80,000, watched love overcome hate in real time. As federal agents cuffed Morrison, reading him his rights under civil rights statutes. The man who had mocked Christians and abused authority finally faced judgment. 30 minutes later, the thumping rotors of a government helicopter shook the diner's windows. The black craft touched down across the street, scattering papers and sending heads turning. Marcus Cross emerged in a dark suit, Secret Service earpiece glinting. He moved with the unshakable stride of a man used to protecting the most powerful office in the world. But today, he was here for something even more important. His father. Marcus's face showed controlled emotion, relief tempered by fury at what had been done to his father. The crowd parted respectfully as he approached the diner. News cameras flashed, recording every step. Local residents whispered, awed that the quiet man they knew from their neighborhood Bible study and mail routes had a son who could command this level of federal response. Inside, Daniel sat with his arm in a sling, recounting his ordeal to FBI agents. Paramedics had relocated the shoulder, though torn ligaments would require surgery. When he spotted Marcus through the window, his face changed, the pain momentarily eclipsed by pride. Father and son embraced carefully, Marcus mindful of the injury. Both men fought back tears they had long held in check. "I'm so sorry, Dad. I should have been here to protect you." "You were here, son," Daniel whispered. "When it mattered most, you were exactly where you needed to be." Outside, Agent Mitchell faced the media in an impromptu press conference. "Our preliminary investigation shows clear federal civil rights violations. Former Officer Morrison has been arrested on charges including assault under color of authority, deprivation of civil rights, and excessive use of force. In handcuffs, Morrison was marched past the cameras into a federal transport van. The irony was clear to everyone watching, including Sarah's live stream audience, now over 200,000 worldwide. Comments poured in. "Karma delivered. Never mess with White House, Dad. Faith isn't a crime." Pierce, standing beside Commissioner Davis, handed over his body cam footage he had hesitated to mention until now. His silence had made him complicit, but this evidence could undo it. On the diner steps, Elena addressed the swelling crowd. "Mr. Cross has been part of our family here for 3 years. What happened to him was wrong. But today we saw ordinary people stand up for what's right. That's the America worth believing in. That's the America worth fighting for." The construction worker who had first spoken out approached Marcus. "Your dad's a good man. We all knew that before we knew who you were or what you do." Marcus shook his hand firmly. "Thank you for having the courage to speak up when it mattered. My father raised me to believe ordinary people doing extraordinary things bring real change." Dr. Patricia Williams from City General finished examining Daniel in the diner's back booth, temporarily converted into a medical station. "The dislocation has been set, but surgery is needed within the week to repair ligament damage. With physical therapy, you'll make a full recovery." Daniel winced but stayed composed. "I've had worse. This isn't the first time I've been treated poorly because of my faith." Marcus clasped his father's hand tightly. "You don't have to downplay this, Dad. What happened wasn't a misunderstanding. It was an assault." "I'm not downplaying it," Daniel replied softly. "I'm putting it in perspective. Your mother always said you'd do something important. Today proved her right. Moments later, Marcus stood with his father before the media, both men presenting a united front of dignity and strength. "My father has served his community for 30 years through church charity drives and postal service," Marcus told the cameras. "He came home every day and taught me about justice, dignity, and faith. Today, he showed the world what grace under pressure truly looks like. No one in this country should ever be targeted, mocked, or brutalized for the faith they live by. And as long as I hold this office, I will fight to make sure what happened today never happens to another family again. The crowd erupted in applause. Some held crosses high. Others carried signs declaring, "Faith is not a crime, justice for Daniel." And for the first time that day, Daniel Cross smiled fully, surrounded not by hostility, but by the community and the son he had raised, proof that dignity could triumph over hate. Daniel spoke softly into the microphones clustered before him. "I don't want Officer Morrison destroyed as a person. I want him educated. Hatred usually comes from fear and ignorance. Maybe this moment can become a lesson. For him, for the department, for all of us." The crowd murmured in appreciation at his grace. Even after humiliation and pain, Daniel extended forgiveness. Marcus followed with a steady voice that carried quiet authority. "But make no mistake, civil rights violations will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of federal law. My father deserves justice, and every American citizen deserves dignity, regardless of their faith." Commissioner Davis called an impromptu press conference right there on the diner steps. Effective immediately, all officers will undergo implicit bias training. Body cameras are mandatory for every interaction. A civilian oversight board will be established with enforcement powers, and any excessive use of force will trigger automatic federal review. Zero tolerance. Mayor Williams soon arrived in person, stepping out of her car to address the press. "This incident exposes systemic issues that must be corrected now. Mr. Cross, you have this city's deepest apology and our commitment to reform." Governor Richardson's voice came through a live speakerphone. "The state is implementing emergency reform protocols. What happened to Mr. Cross cannot and will not be tolerated anywhere in our state." Elena then made her own announcement, her voice trembling with conviction. "Today showed me something powerful. When people stand together against injustice, justice wins. I'm establishing the Daniel Cross Community Fund here at this diner. From now on, free meals for anyone in need." The crowd erupted in cheers. Daniel tried to wave it off, murmuring, "I don't need recognition." Elena shook her head. "This isn't special treatment. This is how you should have been treated all along." Officer Pierce, still shaken, asked for a private word with Daniel and Marcus. "Mr. Cross," he began, his eyes wet, "I've been a coward. I watched Morrison abuse people and I stayed silent. But your dignity today, it taught me more about courage than the academy ever did." Daniel extended his uninjured hand without hesitation. "Courage isn't the absence of fear, son. It's doing what's right in spite of it. And you found yours when it counted," Marcus added firmly. "Character isn't about perfection. It's about the choice to grow and do better." Pierce nodded, fighting back tears. "I want to become the kind of officer you'd want in your neighborhood, Mr. Cross." Meanwhile, Sarah's live stream replayed globally, over 500,000 views and climbing. Harper Diner Justice became the top trending hashtag in the world. Comments poured in, faith in humanity restored. That father raised his son right, from victim to victor. This is justice in action. As the media focused on reform and accountability, Marcus and his father finally shared a quiet moment inside Elena's diner. Daniel's long-delayed turkey sandwich sat before him, now cold but untouched. Marcus sat across, coffee in hand. "You know, son," Daniel said gently, "I never told folks what you do. I wanted them to respect me for who I am, not whose father I am." "I understand completely, Dad," Marcus replied. "That's exactly why you're the man you are, and why I became the man I am." Daniel smiled, pride cutting through the lingering ache in his shoulder. "Your mother would be proud, not of your title, but of your character. That's what matters." They sat in silence for a long moment. Father and son, justice finally served, dignity restored. Marcus would return to Washington within hours. The presidency never waited, but he had arranged time to stay while his father healed. "You don't need to take care of me," Daniel said, smiling faintly. "I'm tougher than I look." Marcus helped him to his feet, steady and protective. "I'm not just taking care of you, Dad. I'm making up for lost time. As the chief of White House security guided his father to the waiting government car, it was clear to everyone watching the most important job Marcus Cross held wasn't guarding the President of the United States. It was being his father's son, family. 3 months later, Harper's Corner Diner had transformed into something extraordinary. Tour buses stopped regularly. A bronze historical marker by the entrance read, "Site of the 2025 Civil Rights Victory," where community courage confronted religious profiling. Daniel Cross, his shoulder healed through surgery and therapy, sat at his familiar counterstool every Tuesday. But now he was never alone. Community members gathered for what locals called Tuesday Coffee with Daniel, a tradition where neighbors discussed everything from school board debates to their children's futures. Elena served them with pride. The Daniel Cross Community Service Fund had already provided more than 3,000 free meals. Funded entirely by donations from people inspired by the viral video, the legal aftermath had been swift. Morrison pled guilty to federal civil rights violations. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison, followed by mandatory service teaching bias awareness at police academies. At sentencing, he asked to address Daniel directly. "Mr. Cross, I was wrong. I hope someday not for your forgiveness, but for a chance to prove I can change." Daniel attended every hearing. Afterward, he told reporters, "Redemption is possible for anyone willing to do the hard work of becoming better." Officer Pierce completed extensive training and now led the department's new outreach program, visiting schools to talk about dignity, faith, and speaking up against injustice. Once a month, he stopped by the diner, not as an officer, but as a student of Daniel's example. The incident had sparked a nationwide reckoning. 47 police departments adopted the Cross protocols, reforms named after Daniel's dignified response. Body cams always on, bias training, immediate federal referral for excessive force. Sarah Lane's live stream made history. Overnight, she became a respected civil rights correspondent for a national network. She often reminded new journalists, "The most important stories happen when ordinary people do extraordinary things." Every Sunday, Marcus flew home. Father and son visited Ruth's grave together, sharing stories and strengthening bonds forged in crisis. At conferences, Marcus told the story, "My job is protecting the president. But my father taught me something greater, how to protect your dignity when others try to destroy it." Daniel's story became mandatory training material in corporations and universities. His message never wavered. "I spent 30 years building communities. I refuse to let hate tear down what love built." At joint speaking events, Marcus added, "My father showed that true strength isn't about retaliation. It's about holding to your principles when chaos surrounds you." The diner itself became a hub of healing. Monthly coffee with cop sessions brought officers and neighbors together for honest dialogue. What once symbolized brutality had become a center of reconciliation. James Patterson, the construction worker who first spoke up, now volunteered with veterans groups. "If I found the courage to speak once, I can find it again whenever injustice appears." Elena expanded her initiative citywide. Other businesses followed, creating networks of support for struggling families. Reflecting on it all, Daniel often shared 3 truths. Dignity cannot be taken. It can only be surrendered. And I chose to keep mine. Courage is contagious. One person documenting injustice can inspire thousands. Justice delayed is not always justice denied. Sometimes it's justice prepared to arrive in full. Marcus, joining him for a regular Sunday lunch, would add, "My father proved that strength isn't about striking back. It's about staying human when others forget their humanity." Sarah's footage had passed 50 million global views. Her closing narration echoed, "Have you ever seen injustice and stayed silent?" Daniel Cross's story shows that silence is complicity, but courage can transform the world. Practical steps emerged. Document injustice fearlessly. A phone in your hand can defend dignity. Speak up immediately. One voice, like James's, gives permission for others to follow. Support systemic reform. Vote, donate, and join efforts that dismantle prejudice. Daniel's story reminded America that heroes don't always wear uniforms or hold office. Sometimes they sit quietly at a diner counter, cross necklace glinting in the morning light, teaching their community through resilience. The real victory wasn't Marcus's, federal power overturning the injustice. It was Daniel's character transforming it into redemption. His refusal to answer hate with hate, his insistence on education over destruction, his faith in justice over vengeance. These became a blueprint for peaceful resistance. As the viral video's legacy spread, one challenge echoed across screens worldwide. What would you have done if you were there? Daniel chose dignity over bitterness. Marcus chose justice over revenge. Their community chose courage over silence. The next time injustice appears before you, will you choose to act? Because dignity isn't negotiable. Justice isn't optional. And faith, lived out with courage, always defeats hate when good people stand together.